Hi, I'm Dr. Bill Feigelman. I'm happy to welcome you to my little workshop here and the demonstration we're going to go through of hands-on sociology. I've been hearing from students over the years of using this book with our students of it being terribly difficult and incomprehensible and hard and beyond the scope of a beginning undergraduate student. And I must say, it is not nearly as difficult as many people imagine. I know when people see numbers, people often freeze. They think it's all going to be very hard. But I'm going to walk you through a little demonstration of crosstabular analysis, and you'll see how easy it is to do many of the problems in the hands-on sociology book. So let's begin, and I'll go to the computer here and go to the SDA website. I go to Google. I put in SDA Berkeley.edu. It could not find it. Well, we'll do it again. Should go there. I've done this a million times, and of course you can always have a difficulty like this. But here I go to the website, and I'm at the home screen. And there are choices: home, archive, community, and so forth. I go to archive, and then I go to the General Social Survey Cumulative Data File 1972 to 2012, which is the data set we will use for the problems. And here's the familiar screen that's in the book. And this is the screen that is going to come up all the time. And I'm going to walk you through the entry of the variable names that will lead you into getting the results from a crosstabular analysis. Let's say we're interested in looking at abortion attitudes, which is the subject discussed in Chapter 3, whether a woman would want to have an abortion for any reason. And I put in to the row box the variable title ABANY, which is mentioned in the book as accepting abortion for any reason. I put that into the row box. Then I was, let's say, interested in whether this would be related to gender, to whether women or men thought very differently about whether a woman should be able to have an abortion for any reason. So I put sex in the column box, and then I use the selection filter, and in the selection filter I put in year, paren 2002, which is the year we have represented in the book. The problems in the book go back to the 2002 survey. However, in the new version of the program that we're developing, we'll be working with the more recent surveys of the General Social Survey. But for now, we're going to work with the 2002 survey, and I take the weights off, make sure I have checked the box for column, make sure I check the box for summary statistics, put in question text, color coding, and then press the button at the bottom here, run the table. And here are the results. Now there's a lot of numbers here. It may look very confusing, but let me walk you through these numbers. And it really is not so hard to interpret this result here. First of all, if you compare the males with the females, you only see a 2% difference, a 3% difference 41% as compared to 44%. And that's not very large. That's not a big difference between the way men and women think about abortion, accepting it for any reason. So, if we compare across, and that's always the way to do this, compare across the columns, take the column variable and look across on the row variable to see the differences, and look at the total. So the row total, 43%, 41, 44, all very close to it. Now, I'm going to look here at the chi-square probability, which is a 0.86, and with a probability of 0.33. So the chances of you getting this grid with these numbers in it is like 1 in 3 probability chance, which means this is chance. This is not a relationship. This does not seem to matter and show any kind of a connection between a gender difference and abortion attitudes. So we would have to say, if the question was asked, do men and women think differently about abortion? Apparently not. At least not in 2002. Let's say maybe they think differently about it today. Let's try to approach that problem. And here we go back to the table, and we go to I changed the selection filter to 2012. Everything else is the same in the problem, and I changed the selection filter to 2012, and now I run the table. And this is going to tell us whether men or women think very differently about abortion attitudes today compared to what they thought in 2002. The 2012 is the most recent general social survey that we have available. And here we got 44% if we round it off compared to 45% for females. Again, a 1% difference, not very different. The chi-square value and the probability value, which is the most important thing, the p-value is 0.7, which is way above the 0.5 probability number, which is what you would be looking for to say that there was a statistically significant association. So here again, we don't see much of a statistically significant association. Okay, now let's put in and explore income, whether a respondent was rich or poor, and whether that affected their abortion attitudes. Now here it's going to get a little tricky. We're going to minimize this, and we're going to go to the recode language that I have established at my home page. So I'm going to open up another window here, and I'm going to the Nassau Community College home page, and then I go to my NCC, and then I go down to faculty and staff home pages, and I look for my name, and here's my name, and here's my home page, and there right at the top is a button here that says press here for SDA recodes to do your online analysis. So I'm going to press here, and for each chapter in the book you are getting all the recodes that you will be pasting in to make it simpler and more easily done. Otherwise you can't do it easily. And our problems are based on using the recodes that are available. Now the abortion attitudes problems are in chapter 3. So I go to chapter 3, and if I want the income variable, here it is, income 98, and I highlight it, and I copy it, and then I minimize it, and then I go back to the here, I take sex out, and I paste in Okay, there I have it. And I want to change it to the 2002 year. Everything else stays the same. Column, percent, summary statistics, question text, and so forth. Everything else is the same. Run the table. And look at this. This is, first of all, brighter colors. If we go back to what we saw before, the colors were kind of dull. They were these faded greens and pinks, but here we see a bright blue and a bright red. And if we look across the columns, we go seeing people approve of abortion for any reason, going from 40% or high 30s up to 60% in the highest income category. So it goes from 40 to 60%. It's a big jump and a sharp change. And of course, on the no side, it's the reverse, since it's yes and no, 60% going down to 40%. Now let's look at the statistics on this. And the chi-square value is a pretty big number, 18. And the probability of getting a chi-square of 18 is 0, 0, 1. So that is 1 in 100 chance. This is way below the 0.5 criteria. So if we look at the numbers alone, we would say this is statistically significant. The more money you have, the more you will approve of abortion for any reason. The less money you have, the less likely you will approve of it for any reason. And the p-value tells you this, and also the color coding from the bright colors shows you this as well. So this is the difference between a non-significant relationship and a significant relationship. We see right away the difference between the two. Now let's take a look at a different problem. Let's take a look at race. Oh, maybe we might want to wonder, would this relationship still be operational in 2012? So we go back to the other screen, change the year filter to 2012, as I've done, and run the table again. No valid cases. Maybe in 2012 they didn't ask. Oh, the income question was different. That's why it's not working. The income was not asked in 2012. So we can't really investigate this because this was different income categories in the earlier surveys that are not carried through to the more recent ones. But let's go to something else, race, and we'll investigate race. I take income out. And I go back to the recode language. And I have here the race categories. They had race categories in the original survey, but we want to just compare whites and blacks. And that's what we have in the recode language that I have prepared here. So we just go back and paste in the race. Okay, we have the race, and we go back to 2002. And we run the table. Now, these colors are a little brighter than the gender difference, but when you look at the numbers, 2.7 chi-square with a 0.24, this is above the 0.5 probability mark, and even though there is like an 8-point difference, this is still within the realm of chance variability. And if we were below 0.5, then we'd say we have an association here of that's beyond chance variability. But we are within the realm of chance variability. So we don't have much of an association here. Even though it's a little more of a stronger non-association. 9 points difference is more than 2 points difference. But essentially, the bottom line is the 0.5. If you make the 0.5 that or less, then you have a statistically significant association. If you're above it, like we are here with a 0.24, you don't make it. Let's see if race has changed any. We'll go to race in 2012. See if it's changed over the years. Well, the colors don't show much of a brightness. The brighter colors, you can see them with the color coding. They will tell you right away where the brighter colors are. And these colors are dull, and the probability is 0.5, not 0.05. It's strictly like a coin toss. 0.5 is just like a coin toss. So there's no association here. There's only 2 points difference between the whites and the blacks on this even now. So whites and blacks think alike. They thought alike about abortion in 2002. They continue to think alike about it now in 2012. Now, I'm going to introduce something that comes up in the later part of the book, but most of what I have shown now is pretty straightforward. You have the color coding, you have the p-value to look for. Now we're going to put a little more complexity into the problem. We're going to go back to 2002, and I'm going to add a control variable to the picture, and I'm going to put in the variable of being a fundamentalist, a religious fundamentalist. Well, a fundamentalist is somebody who is a traditionalist, very fundamentalist, or non-fundamentalist, a liberal, or somebody who's in between, who's not quite a traditionalist nor a liberal, somebody who is on the fence. Okay, now when I do that, let's see what happens. I put in a control variable, and when I run the tables, I get 3 different subtables. I get the table of fundamentalists, traditionalists, and there's a 6-7 point difference between saying yes and no between blacks and whites, but that is within the realm of chance variability because the p-value is 0.36. So that's it's not showing you much of a difference, even though the colors are somewhat bright. They're not really bright, sharply bright. Sharply bright is when you see that deep blue and the deep red. These are, a little stronger pink and stronger green, not the deep colors. Now we're going to look at, so that's the fundamentalists. So among fundamentalists, blacks and whites, in 2002, they pretty much thought alike about abortion attitudes. They thought pretty much the same thoughts. They were a little different on it. Whites were a little less accepting than blacks, but they weren't really much different than chance would show. And again, same story here with only a 2% difference among the moderates. Same story. And the p-value is 0.9. Now when we go to liberals who are non-fundamentalists, here again, we don't see much of a difference. It's an 8 or 9 percent difference, and the probability value of getting a 9% difference is 0.66, which is within the range of chance variability. So we're not seeing anything by the colors for liberals, for moderates, or for fundamentalists here when we compare and contrast them on these three different tables, putting race together with religious fundamentalism in 2002. Now, let's see if that has shifted any in moving ahead to 2012. I changed the year to 2012, and basically I'm running the same table, abortion attitudes by race, by religious fundamentalism for the year 2012, and let's see what happens. Now, look at this. Here, in 2012, there is almost a 20% difference. 39 compared to 20. 19-point difference among fundamentalists, with whites being much less accepting of abortion than blacks. So blacks in the more recent period have become much more accepting of abortion than they were 10 years ago. And whites have gone to the other extreme. So and if we look at the p-value here, we see 0, 0. This is statistically significant. So we see right here, we have a significant association between race and abortion attitudes for fundamentalists in 2012. Let's see what the story is for the other groups. Well, it hasn't changed much for moderates. It's still the same story, 0.95 probability. And look again, we have these dull colors here. Now, among the liberals, we've got a 12% difference. 12% difference, which is at the P05. That's right on the level that is not something that would occur by chance. This is with a difference of 13 percentage points, and the P at 0.5, we can say that this is a statistically significant association. So, interestingly, over the period of 10 years, there has been a shift in people's thinking, blacks and whites thinking, in becoming more oriented, polarized, as it were, with the fundamentalists becoming different, the black fundamentalists different from the white fundamentalists, and vice versa. So these are some of the things that you'll be discovering when you get into the crosstabular analysis, and it gets kind of complicated. But we walk you through this very slowly, and most of the problems you'll be dealing with for many of the early problems will be just two variables. So I think you can do the two variable analyses easily when you look at two things: the 0.5 or below number, and also the color coding. Those bright, sharp colors tell the story. And thank you very much for your involvement in this broadcast.